Hey.
Whoa.
I promise this isn't a bait and switch. Chris had to cancel last minute. He's helping somebody out. So he is rescheduled for April 20th, which is like a Sunday a month from now. Same time as this. Um, oh. Yeah, so we'll do our 3D printing 101 in April. So we have a little more time to, I guess, promote it. Um, but yeah, so tonight, it was kind of last minute. We'd all kind of already had plans to be here. Mike's going to be along in about 10 minutes or so,
Cool.
maybe
Yep.
15, and we're just going to chit chat for a couple minutes. Um, if anybody comes along and wants to ask some questions in the chat, we'll be happy to help them. I may actually do a like slicing demo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got some real specific questions about slicing larger parts for like vehicles and stuff on resin.
Hmm.
Um, and there's no better way to answer that question than by showing. So
Just do it. Yep.
yeah, so
Oh, yeah. If you want to get into that, that's cool. We were just kind of in our green room, so to speak, talking about like printers and what do you do once they become a little bit obsolete or you're replacing them. So I thought that was actually a cool question because it's like, what do you do? I have quite a few. Um, I'm thinking four of the workhorses, the Ender threes and things like that. That like once you kind of step up to that Bamboo Labs, man.
I'm so jealous, so jealous. But
it's
yeah,
it's
like there's one in my damn future. I'm not ready to pull the trigger for probably a couple of months, but once I do, I've got C3 CR10 V3s that I don't want.
yeah, it's like what happens? What do you do with those? Man, and not like you can't give them away because there's always somebody wanting to like get into it. But man, um, I was just thinking about, man, you can't really. It would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to sell them unless you find like the right person to sell them
Yeah.
to, things like that. So
And like I was saying, like if you're trying to sell it on eBay, like just packing it up and shipping it like is not worth the time and money to me.
yeah,
Like if
yeah,
I'm gonna give it to someone, it's gonna be someone local.
sure, yeah, definitely, definitely. Um,
I know a couple people have jumped in since we went. Chris had to reschedule last minute. He had something come up, um, so he's canceled. As of right now, he will be back or be here April 20th, Sunday, April 20th, same time. And the star of the show, Mike, Techno Viper 3D, he'll be along here in 10 minutes or so.
Oh, Chris, the model. I'm thinking about getting into doing 3D printing, but on a very small scale, mainly figures. I haven't thought about vehicles. My wife might unallow. Any recommendations? Oh boy. Well, I mean, if you're trying to do figures, now there's actually two ways to go about this. So the main way would be getting basically a resin printer if you can kind of deal with the chemical stuff, sometimes the
Yeah,
smell
yeah. The
smell
post
gets
processing is more
post
equipment as
process.
well.
Right. Um, but to tell you that there's another way, or at least a second somewhat viable option, a lot of people have actually been printing them FDM on printers like a Bamboo Labs, where you can control colors and you're having fairly like pretty successful prints right off the bat. It's just a more expensive route, so to speak. I think those Bamboo Lab printers are still up there, you know,
Yeah, you're dropping a grand.
but yeah, you're still somewhere in between 700 and a grand on a Bamboo Labs, and where you can get a resin printer in a small one at that for
Yeah,
200-300 bucks.
that's the great thing about figures is they are they're pieces. They're already broken down into tiny pieces. There's no 6-inch scale figure of any kind that you can't do on the smaller end of a resin machine.
Right. So as far as, if you're like, well, what brand or what printer specifically, um, if you're looking at the smaller resin printers, you can go with Elegoo's. What would be the,
Anycubic, Elegoo,
yeah,
those are kind of the big ones. Does Creality have a resin machine? I'm sure they do. Let's let's go to the Amazon.
let's take a surf. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're definitely looking at the tried and true way has been resin printing, which will get you a lot of your fine detail. But I will tell you, a lot of people are pulling off some really good prints with the Bamboo Labs now.
And I think I'm not going to say like to the naked eye, um, you can't tell the difference between a resin print and a really high end FDM print, but like they're getting in close. But I don't think it's going to be real soon that FDM catches up to the level of quality that the resin can do when it comes to like printing a face,
Right,
something like that.
right. One thing I have seen that I like about let's say the Bamboo Labs with the top extension where you can put multiple colors. It's called an AMS system. A lot of people have been doing it where you don't have to actually physically paint your faces with the Bamboo Labs. You can go in and mark that you want to do the eyes in a certain color, and it'll actually print it out that way. So you wouldn't have to paint eyes if you got good enough on your slicing, which is crazy.
Yeah. All right. Starting at the top, Frozen, and I haven't heard anything bad about these things. Um, I said printer. I don't know why it's showing
Showing
non-printers in here.
showing resin, showing curing.
Yeah, the
No,
Elegoos. I'm an Elegoo guy. I really like my Elegoo machines.
I
Uh,
I my first Elegoo
you,
is
you
still in my
brothers.
room. It's a monument to failure. But I don't knock Elegoo because everybody, you can get a bad machine from anybody or whatnot. And a lot of people swear by their Elegoo, so I'm not mad at it. And what's funny about that is that first Elegoo that I bought was like maybe 179 on sale or something like that. So it wasn't a whole lot. So I mean that's not a crazy investment to be able to print your own figures.
All right. Oh, there's a
Look at
little
that.
Sunman
Yeah,
curing box. All right.
look at that.
Yeah. So longer. I am not real familiar with this brand. Um, but if I had heard a bunch of bad things, I would be familiar with it. I just
Right.
haven't heard much of anything. That's $140, and that
That's
if you're
crazy.
trying to do like guns or figures, like that'll do it.
I see
Uh,
Creality right
yeah,
there.
Creality's
Yeah.
got this one. I don't know. Like anytime I see for kids, it's like veer off. Uh, like, yeah, I don't know this machine. Malyan
Okay. Man.
160, and then yeah, and then Elegoo Mars 4, and like
Right. So I agree with Jason. I'm still kind of any cubic myself. I'm not mad at Elegoo though. Because Elegoo got me up and going, for sure. And a lot of people swear by him. So Elegoo and any cubic are really like the go-tos. Um,
I'm a little surprised. There was an any cubic for less than 200. Here we go. Any
196,
cubic mono 4
169.
196. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this over here. You can get it at
A 10K
169.
resin for
I
one
hate
C.
how why can't Amazon just show me what I want to goddamn see? So
But
right
yeah,
here,
170 for a 10K printer is awesome.
and it's a small screen 10K. So like
Mhm.
when I've got a Jupiter that's I want to say 6K or something like that, but it's like this is the 10K, the print bed on the 10K Anycubic. The 6K on the Jupiter is this.
It's huge.
So
Yeah.
it's like those Ks are stretched out.
Hmm.
At some point I'm gonna have to get a 10, 12. I don't know if even there's a 12K, but by the time I'm ready to buy one, there will be. Um, I'm gonna have to get some little ones like for doing faces and stuff like that. I
Right.
hate, I do these heads, and then when I go to paint them and I put on my binoculars, I can see the layer
You can
lines.
kind of see layer lines.
Yeah, and it drives
And
me
that's on a
bananas.
6K. Okay.
Yeah,
I
like
have
a stretched out 6K.
fresh house. Okay. I have the Anycubic M5, and I feel like that one does the job. It's a 10K printer, decent size bed, so it's not the big huge one, but it's like the one in between that.
Yeah,
And
I
it's like
guess it's this isn't a dig, but like I don't see the M5 here, so I'm guessing it's obsolete. I guess they're up at the M7 now.
wow. Yeah, they started getting to like M5 numbers or M5S and M5 somethings. So the M7's probably that next iteration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't say. And this is the other thing, like when they put the descriptions in here, they try and just stuff some buzzwords into it. Like you really
Hmm.
do have to kind of click on this stuff to
Oh wow. Well, so
point
remember,
0.1 millimeter thickness.
yeah, it's nuts. So yeah, on the M5,
No,
remember
isn't
I
it
was telling,
0.05 like the standard?
yeah.
So what the like?
So it does a point zero
That's
one.
nice.
Wow. Yep. Large
That is
printing.
that is not large printing. Oh yeah, it
Well,
is. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah,
it's
223.
yeah, it's decent size, that's for sure.
20 by 230. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've had some success using. Yeah, so there are some people watching. I'm looking at James Roddy's message. He's had success with FDM printers, ABS, and acetone vapor smoothing things like. There's definitely some tricks.
Hello, Mike.
We
Hey,
got
Mark,
technical
how's it going?
Good evening. We're just there was a question in the chat. Somebody interested in getting into printing and primarily they want to do like figures and stuff, not necessarily
Okay.
vehicles. So we're looking at entry level, um, current state of the art, I guess, resin printers.
Okay.
And there was a question about going to Toylanta next weekend. I am not going to Toylanta next
Hmm.
weekend. I think the next show I've got's DFW,
Okay.
and then Joe Lanta, and then assembly required. That's my kind of schedule for the year.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'll be at Toylanta this weekend, so that'll be good. At
Sweet.
least Saturday.
Because
I plan on going.
you live in the toy show capital of the world, Georgia.
Apparently, I
Yeah.
well, no, that would be like in the absolute middle of Iowa, but Atlanta is somehow becoming a second hub.
What are you talking about? Middle of Iowa?
What's that? That's where all those ridiculous toy shows are. Actually, Ohio. Sorry. My
Okay.
bad.
Ohio.
All right,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Although PowerCon moved to Georgia.
that's true.
Really, that is true. That is true.
Yep.
It was, so PowerCon was in Cali at one point.
Was
Really?
it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
they're mixing it with Toylanta this year, so that'll be interesting. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be doing. That's PowerCon specific. but there is going to be a big independent. They're going to do an independent toy presentation that I think it's Carson and Chris Scott and the Big Bad Toy Lab, the new thing that they have there, and Fresh Monkey Fiction. So that should be really
You
interesting.
talking about this weekend? Like this coming weekend, they're doing that.
Yeah, at Toylanta.
Oh shit! So Bill's gonna be there. Interesting.
Who's that?
Bill. The Big Bad Toy Store Fresh Monkey Fiction.
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Let me see how the presentation's called out.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll tell you what, Chris's stuff is looking amazing,
phenomenal. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean he's talking to the factory now to get quotes and stuff. So he's been pushing hard, and just some amazing work on that thing.
So he's at the stage. So the factory hasn't like taken anything yet. Like he has his proofs, his paint proofs and stuff. But
he's got his paint masters. He's got all his files. Obviously, he's got the files, and he's got paint masters. So yeah, he's through all that, and so he's been working on the package for the factory, so they can see like what figures get what parts, and molded and what, painted it how. Yeah, he's put in just an amazing amount of work on it, and we're talking about is World War Hell. For anyone who's curious,
man, that really looks sharp.
And
Carter did all the sculpting for that, right?
He did most of it. Arlen did, I think, a head or Arlen did some. I did like a teeny tiny bit. It's like Chris had the pros come in and hit so many home runs. They were like, Mark, why you can come up. You could it won't hurt if you put something in here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
But I think that's it. I don't think anyone else sculpted. And then Chris did all the paint masters himself, and he's I have no one to compare him to.
Okay.
Like I'm sure there's some amazing painters out there. And I just haven't met them. I don't know who they are. Good. Like from what I've seen, Chris is the best.
Yeah, he does some fantastic work.
Yeah. Cool.
That should be fun. So back to printers.
Yeah, we can talk about printers more. So what we had started talking about, Mike, was what do you do with your old FDM printers once you buy a Bamboo?
Well, if you're me, you leave it sitting where it used to be until you figure out what to do with it.
See, yep.
Well, that's good. You've got one sort of medium to small sized.
Yeah. I've got an Ender 3, and then I've got the Bamboo. And once I got everything set up to use the Bamboo, I haven't even turned the Ender on.
Yeah. Therein is the point. So I was saying I've got like there's a Bamboo in my future. Maybe it's either late this year or early next year. And then I've got 3 CR10 V3s, which are large, 300 by 300 by whatever, and an FT5, which is another big one. And they're gonna need a home because they're not staying here.
So I mean, the advantage that you have with those being bigger is if you're doing vehicles and you need that big bed, those still have some function. The Bamboos aren't incredibly huge. Like they won't print as large.
Like the biggest one isn't that big. Well, Mike supposedly did a Thunder Machine on one.
But it was here's the beast. That's Derek's model.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That is so damn clean looking.
Yeah, his designs were amazing to make the parts look sharp.
Yeah.
Like he even did he split the doors in half so that you have a front half and a back half.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he was talking about that when we had him on a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. Yeah, it is. I am very impressed with this model. But yeah, I did this all on a Bamboo. It's the way he has the parts broken down. no single part is bigger than the bed of a standard bamboo.
Amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I plan on talking to him, but I since I'm showing this off, I had some fun with his models, and I actually made a trunk for all of the Dreadnoks crap that the classifieds come with.
Very nice.
So rippers, and the way he had the parts already broken down, it was very easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But like Ripper's Jaws of Life will even fit in there.
Sweet.
All the
Yeah,
flame effects
amazing.
and everything.
I bet a lot of people are extremely happy with that thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous model. It's absolutely fantastic.
And then you have what, the A1?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about that. What's the bed size on an A1?
300 by 300, I think.
What is the airspeed velocity of a laden swallow?
Or is it 280 by 280? Let me see here. No, 256 by 256 by 256.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they've got the AMS that lets you do the multicolor printing, which I've just started playing around with.
Says,
oh,
okay,
you did get AMS. Okay.
Yes, I did. I bought the combo.
Sweet.
So the A1 is that's pretty good. Oh, look at you with your inches. Fuck you. I can't even read that shit anymore. So this is forge crap.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the bamboo so far.
Okay, so is the X1 the carbon? Is that is that the big boy, or is it just enclosed?
Contained version. I don't know what the bed size is on the X1.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up. It's not huge.
It's inches.
Yeah.
So 15 inches by 18 by 15.
Okay.
Let's see.
Do a conversion here.
Yeah, I think the deal with
380.
Yeah, so that's legit. That's big.
Okay. So I mean, that's the one that I have, and I haven't really pushed it for size yet, but eventually, yeah.
Man, that'll do everything I need a 3D printer to do. Yeah.
Yeah, they are nice.
So getting back to answering that question, if the guy wants to do figures,
that dude probably left a while ago.
Yeah. But if he wants to do figures, I would first say that a resin printer is probably your best step, but I have known and seen people do them some pretty decent work on one of these.
Okay.
And even to the point where, like with bamboo and the AMS, you can actually paint the faces, through just slicing it up in your 3D printer.
Oh,
so like you can do the eyeballs and stuff without having to paint them.
That there is worth the price of admission.
I've seen it done, so I'm not like speculating here. I've seen it.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. The other thing we kind of talked about was I was thinking of doing like a quick slicing demo.
Okay.
Because I've been getting questions from folks offline about it. So,
and this would be more so about slicing like a vehicle or
like a large piece,
piece
onto resin. So when you do, we'll get into it in a second. When you're doing a large piece, your concern. I need to get my thoughts straight. Your concern when doing resin is minimizing suction between the piece and the FEP and maximizing grip between the build plate and the piece. So if at any point the force of the suction becomes greater than the grip strength, it rips off and your shit fails.
Oh yeah.
All right. So this is.
And you're slicing. This is
Oh.
G.I.JOE box, right?
So this is G.I.JOE Box Pro 2.0.
Okay.
I'm a little angry. It's sort of BS. Like I initially bought Pro a couple years ago because I wanted to start using 3MF files because I really like 3MF files, and the regular Cheeto box doesn't support it. So I got the Pro, and then when I got the Jupiter, I got like another like a card for like another year with the Pro, and I got it again, and then I start getting like these things that are like upgrade to 2 point blah, and I was at like 1.9.9.9 or whatever it was. But you have to create a new subscription for the 2.0. So I went through this last week. I went to try and print something, and like the printer couldn't see the file, which had happened to me before, and it meant that like the version of the slicer I had was too new for like the firmware on the printer, so I like upgraded the firmware on the printer, made sure the slicer was all the way up to date, and then it still couldn't see it, and it was because the USB stick was just trash. So now I'm using this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let me get the stuff off of here. Sorry, I'm still figuring out where all the buttons are on this thing. Jupiter.
All right, so I'm going to ask while you're doing that, just to throw you off.
Okay.
How come you don't have that plate just like totally filled up with stuff?
That was like test prints that I was doing.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, actually, we can talk about that real quick too, because I'm not sure what I'm doing with that yet. So I am gonna give that file to it's gonna go on the Patreon as soon as I get a chance. But I did two versions of that machine gun for the Saw Viper. One with like I took the rear. I'll pull it out in a bit. We'll do it. Let me.
All right. But yeah, like I only asked that question because like when you have a plate as big as yours, or even a small one, because you don't have to. One of the difference between FDM and resin printing is like FDM. The more stuff you put on the plate, the longer it takes. But with resin, you could fill that plate up, and it's all going to take you the same amount of time it takes just to print.
Yeah, the only thing that height dictates time for resin.
Right. And so that's kind of one of the pros and cons of things. Like with their resin, if you're printing like the same thing, you can get as many as you can fill on a plate in a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So I don't. This is a big ass piece that really should be split in half, and it's really a better print to do with FDM just because of the damn size. This is a ridiculous thing to print resin, but this is how I would do it. I put it at a 45, and it's not perfect. Like there's going to be some spots like right here where it's going to need some extra support.
Yep.
But I've got it in position, and before we start supporting anything, we're going to hollow it out. I like about a 2 mil wall thickness. It doesn't default to millimeters. It's like you saw me click and it just went from like 1.7 to 2.2. 2.2 is not bad. So we'll go with that. Precision, let's go high. Yeah, infill, yes. We get to pick the infill type. Scaffolding, high over grid. I'll just leave it on the scaffolding. Infill density. We'll go about 15. I don't need animation. Keep the main cavity. Yeah, apply.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, 68. It's taking a sweet time. I'm gonna grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
Yep. So I'm looking to see what it's at. All right. There we go.
What's that?
So now I'm just kind of looking at what the infield looks like on there, in there,
Okay.
and then whether or not you still might need to put a hole somewhere.
Yeah, so this is cool. I don't like how this looks, and I mean the yellow weird transparency thing going on.
Yeah.
It didn't. That's not how it used to be in the old G.I.JOE box. Anyway, but you can see it's hollow. It's got the grids in there. I think I hit apply, right? Like it did it.
Yeah.
All right. And then yeah, we got to dig a hole.
There we go. That's what I was getting to next.
Yeah. So I like to. You want the hole like this is upside down. When it's actually on the printer, it's hanging like this.
Yep.
So imagine the vat with the liquid is down here.
Yep.
So that means our drainage holes we want at the top, and those holes are there for the air to escape. And like we'll use that to flush uncured resin out with IPA or denatured alcohol, whatever. But you want your holes at the top so air can escape, and that's how you stop it from creating a vacuum down here. So imagine it'll start printing from up here. So like right in there, you're gonna have quite a bit. Like that's where you're gonna have your most suction is kind of right through there.
Yeah.
And then once you get down to here and further, if this was sealed off underneath the liquid resin and you're pulling up, it's a big suction cup essentially. So you need that air to be able to escape up. So we'll go 5 mils, not bad. And you can keep it right up at the top, no problem. You could do it here, but for me, the thing to keep in mind is you might want to seal these holes later. So you don't want to go too big or too crazy with it. And you want to try and hide it because ultimately you're creating a flaw in the print. But sometimes what I'll do is a real big hole because I want to no shit really wash out the
All the loose resin. Yep.
Yeah, all that loose resin. Like I've got to get a lot of resin into this thing and swish it around and be able to pour it out. So you don't want just one hole because that'll make cleaning out the inside rough later. So you want more than one hole. And if it's too small, if you make a hole that's 2 mil, like it's gonna be a pain in the ass. Like even if you submerged it in a bucket, it would be like little bubbles slowly trickling out of one while it slowly trickles in. You want a hole big enough for the whatever you're cleaning it with to be able to pour in and pour out. Not you shouldn't have to put a syringe in there and withdraw like suction to get the resin out or the cleaning material out. So you want some bigger holes. So that works right there. And then the last step is supports. There is no reason on God's green earth to use anything but heavy supports on something like this.
Like that big, yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like you're wasting your, like a light support, you're completely wasting your time. A medium support, maybe on a really fine detail. But on something this damn big, do I have one sitting here? I don't know. On something this huge, you're wasting your time with anything but large supports. And then I am a firm believer in using a what's it called?
Like a
Raft.
raft.
A raft.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But you also, with your raft, you don't want to create a bunch of suction either. So you don't want to use a skate on something big like this. I'm trying to figure out where the. Here we go. Can you see that? Did that pop up for you?
No.
No. So I had to hit the advanced settings to get the window to come up with the raft. It used to be right over on the right, but this is a new thing for this. On a big print like this, like the raft, if it's covering an area of 110% of the shape, you can see it's squeaked out all around this thing. That's unnecessary. You can probably get away with like 98%. So I changed it to 98 and see how it didn't change here.
Right.
I think, nope, that's not it. I guess I have to go back. I go back to prepare and then back into supports. There it goes. So I made it a little smaller.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, like, it's serving no purpose down there except creating more suction when the raft gets made.
Talk about these red parts here.
Yeah, so in Cheeto Box, it's going to show you in red where your worst angles are, where it, like any kind of island, anything that's unsupported or needs support. The darker the red, the more so. I'm not going to support this whole damn thing because that would take a little while. But like right here, this black line, that's kind of showing the area covered by the individual support that I'm about to put down. And when I've got a round shape like this, or even if I had a square corner, I like to stagger it. So I'll kind of come through like this. And in my head, I'm creating something that's stable. Like if I did everything in a line like this, that's just a really unstable point. But if I space it out a little bit and kind of do this stepper thing, it's just more stable.
Talk about why you're not using auto support.
I will. There's probably a way to play with auto supports and dial it in. I haven't figured that out, but and this is new software, so maybe this will do an amazing job, but I fucking doubt it. So I hit auto support, generate auto supports. It's thinking about it. Typically what happens is it adds way too many,
like more than you need. Yeah,
like way more than you need, like dangerously way more than you need, like waste of material and creating. Yeah, see, that is a monster. That is a huge headache. Removing that is going to be a pain in the ass, and it's going to leave way more like artifacts or blemishes in the final print than you need to deal with. This is unnecessary.
I didn't know it would do this much. That's crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, like I'm sure I can go in and dial it in.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I trust me more than I trust the machine.
Okay.
By a lot. Yeah, look at that. Ooh. That's absolutely ridiculous. That is absolute overkill. It is unnecessary. So, okay. So all these little details right here, and these are small details, but each corner should have should have a support. This is one of those weird places where I would actually use light supports. This is a tiny little detail, and it would absolutely print cleaner if each of these little things just had like a little boop, 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 just like this.
Okay.
And I'll use light supports for that little detail, but not really anything else on this model is something I would use a light support for. Like right here, see how it's done that? Like those are spots, those little details. I could do mediums there. Not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the smaller the support used, the less likely you're going to have like an ugly artifact
Like
when
a
the
divot.
supports get
Yep.
removed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yep, that's my kind of down and dirty rules for large resin prints.
Now you mentioned that you did this at about 45-degree angle. What's the prominent key about that? Because I mean, I hear everybody saying that. So, what's the science behind that?
So it kind of shows you real easy here. Where it's a good 45 angle or greater to the bed, see how it doesn't have that red, it's blue, because just about every printer now can print 45-degree angles. You get to 50, and now the overhang is too much. And essentially what it means is when it prints a layer, the next layer can be a little bit bigger than the previous layer to where it creates a 45-degree.
Right.
That's what's happening. But you go greater than that, and just the support's not there, and it'll fail. Not always, but you're definitely pushing your luck at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep, that's my. Anybody have any questions about that before we ditch that and move on to something else? And we're at 40 minutes. I thought we were going to do like 20.
Yeah.
I thought Mike was going to be here, and we were like, "You made it. We're out."
Yeah.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Though Ben said, "Have you seen videos on using resin supports for FDM printers?" So it's like I've kind of seen something like this. But
I've seen like pre-made supports used.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It just sounds like work. It sounds like a lot of dialing stuff in to try and get it to work. It doesn't seem worth it to me.
Yeah.
Well, you're saving a little bit of material at the end of the day, and the trade-off for that is risk of print failure. While you're fooling around.
I'm really confused here. How are the resin supports used for the FDM?
So, like, ways that I've seen it, and Ben, you can chime in on this if you're still listening. But the way that I've seen it is like you can sort of save your slicing from like a program such as what Mark was just using, like, and then take it over to FDM.
Okay.
And then put it there and have FDM printed in like that. So it's like saving it as like an STL or something where it's already has the supports. Okay.
Okay.
And then taking it over to FDM and printing it that way.
Interesting.
To me,
go ahead.
To me, it's kind of like an extra step,
right?
And you don't know if it's really going to work. It's used in miniatures, so that to me might make a little bit more sense.
That makes less sense to me.
No, it's small, and you're not gonna have as many like FDM supports, depending on what you're using, can be kind of big and clunky.
Right.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like. I don't know how you did like going the other way, FDM to resin. I don't know how you'd stick them to the bed because it's not gravity or glue stick, right? It's upside down. And I think you'd run a huge risk of just puncturing your FEP. Like it's not worth it. It's not worth even experimenting with that. F that.
No, so
I'm just saying, I don't think that one's feasible. Going the other way,
One
like
other way, yeah.
I can wrap my head around it, right?
Right.
Like
So,
bringing that
what?
SDL in and then like slicing the supports off. You gotta just hit your mark on the build plate exact with it,
Hmm.
and then yeah, no, there's a bunch of issues because it could work sometimes, but then if like your whole print head's traveling and these supports are already there, taller than where the print is, like how does that work?
Oh
So
yeah. Ugh.
yeah,
Yeah. I've seen it done. I've seen it done. Um, I haven't personally done it. So the 3D printing gods might know how to do it flawlessly, but I don't think I'm there yet.
so here's that saw viper I was talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh, nice.
So I did a couple versions of this thing. So I kept like at the end of the day, the biggest problem with this is that the because of the armor the figure is wearing, he's just not very posable. Like that big secondary chest piece just prevents his arms from coming together much.
Hmm.
So with the original, see how close the foregrip and the back grip are.
Yeah.
So what I did was I moved the rear grip back a little bit,
Yep.
and so that works. And then so on this one, I've got like the port for the belt. The original one had a tab, and the belt like kind of like
Jams in there.
yeah, kind of jams to that tab. So
Mhm.
it looks like the ammo belt is like stapled to the side of the gun versus going into it.
Right.
Um,
Well, my guess is that that was a last minute fix
yeah,
based on the story of the, you know,
yeah,
the two up being used for the tool.
yeah. So yeah, so then I got the version I just showed you, and then I've got another version where I again moved um the pistol grip back, but then moved the foregrip forward.
Giving a
So
little bit more.
that gives me just a little more room.
Yeah.
And so with that, I can put the that ammo can that came with the damn thing can get in there and he can hold it. Or the belt can go in where the ammo can was. The belt can go in
Okay.
there, or the belt can go into those. So I think this is the winner. And then it's still got that goofy tripod that's I kept it the same size where it's still shorter than the grips. Uh, so yeah, but that was a fun one. Like I I have new respect for how much detail those guys that sculpted these out of wax back in the day. Holy crap! Until you've spent like a couple weeks with like the big magnifying glasses on, trying to figure out what shape you're looking at on this goddamn thing. Just wow! And I can't even see half of it without magnifying. Like my
Well,
eyes are just not
yeah.
good enough. So like it's a real impressive piece. It's just doesn't fit anything. So
So that was interesting that you raised your model for classified. It looked to be just about the same size as the original.
oh yeah,
How-
yeah. So I yeah, so the story was that the original gun was the
Mhm.
two up.
Right.
So
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like and like if you took a 3 3/4 inch, multiply it by two, that's like 7 inch change, whereas
Right.
classified is 6 inch. So in theory, this gun should actually be smaller to be right with the classified,
Okay.
but I needed more room between those two grips so he could actually hold it. So
Mhm.
Okay.
I just kept it the original size
Kept it the same size.
instead of bringing it down what would have been a like 7 or 8 millimeters shorter.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's just awesome. I, I'm in my mind just sitting there. I'm envisioning you figuring all that out, and that's just awesome.
Yeah, and I made the stock shorter too. Like,
Yeah, I did kind of notice that. Yep.
yeah. So I just made it shorter. Um, and again, like it's just in order to fit the figure. I've made enough guns at this point. I know how long a stock can be before it's just interfering with shit. So, I don't know. Damn thing fell off again. Yeah. So
Oh, that looks good.
stock's kind of just right there, right in the pocket.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah. So if you're on my Patreon, you'll have that probably tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And Mike can show us what it looks like when it's printed on a bamboo.
Yeah.
I am curious, since I don't have one yet.
Okay. I may give it a shot. See how it does.
Have you done any weapons on that thing? Any like?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
What all have I done? Oh, I take it back. I actually have done some weapons because I was working on Project Scorpion. So this is a modified version of your classified roadblock. Actually, it was your
Like
classified roadblock, but I shrunk it down.
Okay.
And added some things to it. So, yeah, details are okay, but it's not. There we go. Not great.
I'm gonna make you bigger. Hold on.
Yeah, I want to see it bigger. There we go. All right, hold your hand up behind it just to get it to focus a little bit more.
There we go.
There we go. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's strong. You know, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I can bend the barrel on it, but it could use some more detail. And I've got to dial in the sizing because it's not quite right for what I'm looking for.
And then, are you printing with the 4mm or the 2mm nozzle?
4mm.
Yep.
I'm just going with the standard. I do have a 2mm nozzle, but I haven't played around with it yet.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's magical.
And then
a lot of people have more success with that 4mm than with 2mm, but that's not on a bamboo, which
right. Oh, HQ camera. Ben's doing the HQ camera. I also did the grenade launcher that we did.
Yeah, I love that you figured out a trick for the belt. It's so awesome.
That actually works out really well.
So cool.
That's actually golden. I don't even want to share that to you. You can if you want.
He did. He shared it.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was just with us.
I think I just shared it with you guys.
Yeah.
So for anyone that wants to know the magic, tough.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been telling people on the side for weeks.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I love the way that turned out. I mean, the way that it flows across the belt is just very sweet. So I am actually at the point I was, the Thunder Machine kind of took most of my printing time, but I'm hoping to get back to, now that it's done, I hope to get back to Project
I mean, you still you did that thing in under a month, right?
Which one?
The Thunder Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I just started working on that. Yeah, about a month ago.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of downtime. I mean, there was
a
lot of time. If I had focused on it, I could have had that whole thing done in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nothing's painted on it. Everything. The main thing too was finding the right filament. I found some, just some off the shelf. I think it was just Overture. They had a blue and they had a red that just lined up near perfect.
Yeah. Overture's got a couple of perfect colors for what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm extremely happy. Oh, the other thing that I did for anybody that I've got to talk to Derek if I can post these or not. But one of the other things I did is his belt for the chain guns was TPU.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to mess with TPU, so I did created a shaped version of the belt that can be printed in FDM, just with standard filament.
Yeah. So as an adult, you don't get the satisfaction of being able to like rotate the little gun and watch the belt kind of struggle to move a little bit.
Exactly. I designed it in such a way to where you can kind of sort of still rotate the guns in position, but the turable belt weird mechanism doesn't work. Of course, truth be known, it never worked in the real one either. So
What are you talking about? Look at this. Oh my, it's like the real thing.
Oh
yeah, it's exactly like the real thing. It doesn't work either.
You shut your mouth.
Now that's your challenge, Mark, because I know you've got that version of the Thunder Machine. Make it work. But
mine's a feed belt, like it would actually have in real life. Not, it isn't belt fed like Rambo shooting up the headquarters at the end of that fucking movie.
Right.
You know, it's a feed tube.
Okay.
So there is no.
Yeah. The whole concept of the Thunder Machine, the way that the gun, that goofy rubber belt was in there was. I always just figured that it just meant that they had infinite ammo because it was an infinity symbol. You know, it twists under the gun, and then that's why it has infinite ammo.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you cracked the code.
Yeah. That was a joke in one of the old Metal Gear games. You know, being a video game, they had a gun that had infinite ammo, and they're trying to keep it in reality. So your character's talking on radio back to HQ, and they're just like, he's like, how does this gun have infinite bullets? And you're just like, well, the magazine's in the shape of an infinity symbol.
It's an infinity symbol. Oh, man.
All right. I think we're going to wrap it up.
All right.
This went real fast for kind of seat of our pants. Yeah. So we do not have, aside from the rescheduling of Mr. Christopher McLeod, we do not have any guests scheduled right now. So I'll be working on that the next day or so. Maybe.
What about Viper 6?
Yeah, we did reschedule that. Is that
we're going to do O-rings for him again.
Yeah, what happened with that? I had something come up with that one.
You had something come up, yeah. So you had to cancel it. Did you move it to next weekend? Because I knew we couldn't.
I feel like that's what we discussed actually. So let's verify. So many messages. There we go. Okay, no, we haven't. So I'll reach out to him first and see if he can do next weekend. If not, maybe the following. So
okay.
But I mean, tentatively, let's plan to be here next Sunday morning, afternoonish.
Okay.
Depending on where you live.
Yep.
You know, after lunchtime for some, before breakfast for others.
Yep.
And we'll go from there. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks again for coming out. Sorry about the last minute change of plans. Life happens. So we will catch you guys next time.